All right, Joy, the floor is yours. Have a good session.
All right, thank you so much. And thanks, folks, for joining. I am Joy Apple, and I am here to talk with you today at the Microsoft 365 / SharePoint Saturday virtual event. It is noon in Oklahoma, so the tornado sirens just went off. It is not a cause for alarm. We test it when the weather is good. So if you hear that in the background, that's all that's happening. It's just a little excitement added to our day. Thank you for joining this virtual event. There has been some fantastic content that has been presented so far, and there's more good stuff to go. Just wanted to thank our sponsors for making this possible. All right. If we've never met before, virtually or otherwise, I am Joy Apple. I work with Pate Group as a modern workplace strategist and a service adoption specialist. You can find me on the social interwebs as @JoyOfSharepoint. That's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the good stuff. I've been playing this game for about 12 years now. Started out as a farm admin, and I've worked my way to where I am today. And whether you're new to Microsoft 365 or you've been at it for a while, I think we can all agree it's never boring, which personally I find fun. I can't stand to be bored. Thank you so much for being here. Again, if we've never met before, I'm so glad you're here. Feel free to keep an eye on social media for my webinar. I do it about once a week, once a month, depending on the COVID situation. And it is free. Free is good. Okay, we're going to jump into the good stuff now that I've done my shameless webinar plug. Intranet navigation, it's changed. It's changed a lot since SharePoint has gone modern, and Microsoft has made recommendations to flatten the architecture. But we're really used to thinking kind of inside that old school box about a nested structure for our SharePoint intranet. Not just our structure, but the navigation, the way we get to stuff. So back in the day, this may still be your reality. If it is, that's okay. You're future-proofing for getting things modernized. Back in the day, we probably had one of two structures. One would be where you had a corporate home. We tend to think of it as a home page, but in actuality, it is a home site. And that would be a site collection within SharePoint. And then we would create a subsite for every one of the departments or the functional business areas inside of the environment. And that would give us the ability for those subsites to inherit the navigation of that corporate homepage or home site. One of those subsites, such as information technology, would then have another series of subsites for those breakouts of the functional areas within the department. So human resources might have like benefits, wellness, things like that. IT or application support, the exchange team, the help desk. So we went from a parent site, which was that corporate home page or home site, to a child site for the departments, to grandchild sites for those functional areas. So we start kind of nesting. And it could give us something like this if we break it out into a tree view. So parent, child, grandchildren. Okay, cool. We had tools and we used them to the best of our ability. And sometimes it looks like this. So I decided as I was thinking about this presentation that we really needed to discuss pros and cons for the ways we've traditionally built up our intranet navigation. So the pros of having a top-level site, child site, grandchildren, so on and so forth, is your navigation truly was global and it was inherited all the way down. And that's all I could come up with. I actually, when I was putting these slides together, I thought, no, there's more to it than that. You've just got your modern blinders on, right? Pick yourself up, go back to your 2007, your 2010, your 2013 days, and think about it. So I actually took my big dog outside. He may make a guest appearance during this. He's laying next to me snoring, so if you hear that, that's Finn. Finn and I went for a walk and I was talking through it, thinking about it. That's all I could come up with. But I did come up with some cons. Doing work that way meant that everything in that site collection ended up in the same content database. So if Joy messed up something in a site and needed to have a restore done from a backup, that meant we were restoring for everybody. That was either a big catastrophic need or, sorry, Joy, we're not backing up and restoring everyone in the world, in the organization, just because you deleted that spreadsheet out of your recycle bin, right? That was reality. A lot of broken permissions everywhere, because every time we made that jump from a site down to a subsite or a subsite to a sub-subsite, more than likely the audience was changing. People were getting kicked out and the permission groups, the audience was getting smaller. So a lot of broken permissions there. As a SharePoint admin, if I went to central administration, there was no clear way to really see everything, all of the sites, the subsites, the sub-subsites, so on and so forth, that we were working with in the environment. Very much a iceberg situation. You saw the tip of the iceberg, not everything that was below it. And did I mention broken permissions? Because there were a lot of those out there. 9 times out of 10, we were probably still going back and manually adjusting navigation somehow, some way. Well, if I'm on this site, I don't need to see all of that. Can you just give me one link back? Huh? Sure, right? Reorgs, oh gosh, don't get me started. Reorgs were a nightmare. Have you ever been in the situation where you needed to delete a sub site, but nothing in between it and the parent site? Just one down here, and then there was more stuff underneath it. Can't do it. Or maybe you're like me and you worked for an organization that reorged about every 6 months, whether they needed to or not. You know, it was the government, you got bored, you know, a title changed and everything had to turn around. Ugh. No, okay. I'm gonna stop before I have a flashback to that. Okay. That was one way we did it. Maybe we did it this way. Maybe every department was a separate site collection instead of being a subsite of that corporate home page or home site, which has some benefits for it for sure. This was my favorite way of architecting. It just felt a little bit better, a little easier. Contract management was its own site collection. IT was its own site collection. Manufacturing was its own site collection. And then within those, you would still have a subsite. But instead of breaking permissions from corporate home to department subsites, it was just one break in a perfect world. So now I had IT, my permissions lived there, and then I would break it out according to those functional business areas within the department. Okay, so one site collection per department was better, but we still had some situations going on. I didn't get any kind of global navigation because as soon as I went from that corporate home site collection to an IT site collection, an HR site collection, a finance site collection, brand new set of navigation links, right? So I had to build it. Okay, but you set it once and you're pretty much done until someone changes something. Broken permissions within the site collection, still a real thing. You know, we removed one layer of complication, but we still had plenty to deal with. Still no true view of everything we were working with in central admin because it shows, you know, site collections, not the subsites. But hey, I promise you, being able to put the site collections into their own content databases for purposes of backups and restores. Now, if IT messes up, they're not impacting the whole organization. Way better, way better. Cool, awesome. And I don't think I said this at the beginning. If we have questions as we go through, definitely put those in Q&A, and then we'll come back and have a little Q&A session. It'll be fun. Don't leave early. Okay. So that's how it used to be. You just throw that away now because modern SharePoint calls for modern architecture, and it is time to unnest our sites. Don't be afraid of this. It's actually really awesome in application. It makes a lot of things a little bit better. We just have to puzzle through connecting some things that get spread out. That's okay. That's why we're here today. So there's definitely a challenge, and some of you might be feeling that challenge right now, I'm hoping that's why you're here, so we can kind of think through this and talk through it a little bit. Because if we're introducing flat architecture, think about a couple of things. So we're getting rid of subsites. So we're getting rid of that family type connection within a department and the way the URLs are architected and the things that inherit from a parent site to the child site. A site is a site is a site is a site. And we could kind of put in parentheses collection after the word site. Everything is. Definitely can present a challenge because our departments break up typically into a lot of different functional areas. But 9 times out of 10, we were causing that break within a site collection structure anyway by granular permissions, right? We would break the inheritance between that top level and the child site. So we were creating that distance anyway. We were just used to seeing those links in place or having that navigation automatically flesh out for us. That's okay. Deep breath. We're going to talk through this and it's going to be awesome. And I want to kind of remind you that we've always had a goal of flat architecture inside of our sites anyway. If you've been around the SharePoint world for very long at all, you might have caught on that there's a lot of, I'm going to say, preaching against deep folder structures, right? We want to keep the content inside of our lists and libraries as flat as possible. We're just taking that methodology and looking to apply that to our site structure now. I will confess, right? When I first heard that, I thought, well, that's kind of crazy. That's a lot of sites. And what's going to be the logic that binds them all together? In fact, if you start thinking about unnesting sites and let's call it cutting the cord between the child sites and the parent sites and everything is raised up, oh, that kind of feels like our sites are just all kind of out there floating around with nothing to bind them together. But that's not necessarily true because we're still inside the confines of our tenant, right? Our URL, it's kind of like the force that binds all of our sites together. Yes, I went there. So I promise you, things aren't going to get disassociated and lost. In fact, by everything being raised up to its own top level site, we're not having to worry about those. Remember our old orphan sites and all that jazz? We're fine. It's all right there. And there's actually this brand new way of thinking about our SharePoint architecture that we have never had the privilege of before. Because now we're playing with Legos. I challenge you to tell me a reason why it's not fun to play with Legos. We're not talking about stepping on them in the middle of the night. I get that. We've all been there. That's horrible. But now our sites are 100% modular. If I've got a site and it's just sitting out there and it's called IT, and the owner, well, let's say this, the CIO changes over to operations or something, it doesn't impact that site at all, right? It's not nested under anything. It doesn't have to move around. So a reorg comes along, nobody cares. We may just have to change up the links a little bit. It's fine. It's no problem. There's nothing stuck inside of a deeply nested logical architecture that has to be moved around in any way whatsoever. And the tangled knots of broken permissions and granular permissions, gone. It's just gone because our site collections don't inherit from anything. I have a new site, I have a new audience, I have a brand new set of permissions. It's very freeing. But still, I hear you. I just want my global nav back, right? I just want that top link bar to reflect what needs to be there, and I want it to follow with me wherever I go, right? I want my magic back. I hear you. I promise I do. Let's address an unpopular truth first. 9 times out of 10, even with our inherited global navigation that we had within our subsites or our site collections with subsites, we probably were still editing navigation here and there, even though it built out automagically. Okay, so for most of us, unless you had a very structured, very rigid unchanging environment, we're probably having to go change stuff. So the idea of set it once and forget about it navigation is probably a bit of a myth. It's gone today. That inherited global navigation doesn't exist in modern architecture, but that's okay because we have hub sites. Enter the hub sites. The hub site gives us the ability to find those sites that are related in some way. What we used to have created that parent-child site structure with, we now can do that with a hub. So hub sites let us take sites that are related by topic, a project, or a scope of work and join them together. Sites aren't nested, they're joined. You can almost think of it like the spokes on a bicycle wheel. They kind of join together and they're associated by functionality within that hub site. To be super duper clear though, a hub site really is not a type of site. We just have two types of site these days. Our communication sites, which are intended to be managed by a small group of people and broadcast out information to a larger group of people. They're the ideal site to use for our department landing pages on the intranet. I like to call those our company public sites, where everyone in the organization has the ability to consume this data that's being communicated out by our departments like HR, operations, sales, marketing. The term hub site is really identifying a feature that we can turn on for either one of those communication sites or our team sites. And just to inject a little bit of clarity, slightly off topic, but if you're pretty new to SharePoint, maybe you're in Teams. In fact, I have heard that more people are in Teams than not in Teams these days, but Team site does not mean it's automatically connected to Microsoft Teams. Team site is actually the oldest type of site for SharePoint. It's been around forever in terms of SharePoint. It's just where we come together with our departments, our business units, our functional areas, and work as a team, with or without Microsoft Teams. A team site or a communication site can be registered as a hub site. We like to call it hubified. So I can hubify either type of site and use that as a central location for all of the related sites to share data, share information, and to begin to build out that, what we used to call global navigation. We now call that our hub navigation. And I'm going to walk you through how to do that. This is not just going to be slides, I promise. We're going to jump in and do some of this in just a couple of minutes. Let's talk first about what we get with a hub site. Consistent navigation. So let's pretend we have projects in our organization. I can create a projects hub, join each site where those individual projects are worked on to that hub, and have that navigation follow me throughout the joined sites. I get consistent branding. So if I have a theme dedicated to projects and I go and join individual project sites to that project hub, whatever the hub looks like, the theme, the logo, that look and feel, it will push down to those joined hub sites, which is nice because as human beings, visual cues like that really register deeply with us. So if I go to my project site and it's gray and I click somewhere and now it's purple or teal or blue, before my brain really understands that I'm somewhere else, instinctually, I know something's changed. So that consistent branding can be very important. I'm going to get focused search results. So when I'm on that hub site that's got the joined sites associated with it, when I start searching, search is going to look at the things just within that hubified environment first. Oh, you're looking for a policy within the project hub site, so I'm only going to pull that policy stuff for you from this and those joined hubs, not all those other sites out there that aren't part of the hub, right? Because I'm searching from here, I'm probably looking for something that has to do with this hub. And I get content roll-ups, news, events, I have an associated site web part, highlighted content web parts. We can focus those to automatically show us content from the joined sites within the hub. What we don't get with a hub site, inherited permissions. Every site that's part of that hub situation still maintains its own individual permissions because every site is a site collection. And remember, you know, when you look at your URL, when you're browsing around the intranet, you'll see /sites/ in the name of your sites. Every time you see that /site/, you're crossing into a brand new security boundary. That's actually a little internal traffic control signal for Sharepoint that says I'm leaving one area and I'm going into a totally different area within the tenant. I'm crossing a border. So things are going to be different. Now at Ignite 2019, centralized permissions management for hubs and joined sites was announced. And I actually was out the other day looking at the roadmap that's scheduled to be released this month. And as I'm saying this out loud, I'm hoping it's not out there and I just missed it. If so, check out Twitter. I'll let you know. So it's in development right now. It's not showing as launched as of yesterday. But that's going to be great. So I'll be able to, from my hub site, manage the permissions of the sites that are joined. Just remember, with great power comes great responsibility, just like Spider-Man and Uncle Ben taught us. So we want to use the power to manage those permissions centrally in a very wise and appropriate way. And we're talking about hubifying and creating these joined sites and all that stuff. We're not really trying to combine every possible group of sites. So in a big fleshed out intranet, most of our departments, at least those primary, I'll call it shared services areas of the environment, we don't need to group them together. So if I've got a company public IT site and a department private IT site, I don't need a hub to join those together, right? Because those are two very different functions, actually. The people that are going to that communication site, probably a much broader audience than the people that will actually go to that department team site. So it's really not going to be super useful to join those together on a hub site. But what we are talking about is finding those sites that are related, where processes are similar, audiences may be pretty similar, the scope is similar, and create a landing page for them, a place for the shared resources of all those sites to live in commonality, and then a jumping off point to those individual work spaces, which would be the team sites. It's a great consideration for your shared services sites. I would actually think about hubifying your corporate homepage and then joining to that hub there's my dog, your human resources communication site, your IT communication site, maybe wellness, benefits, things that everyone in the organization needs to go to get information. Do you have manufacturing at your organization? There may be a lot of plants out there that share safety sheets, policies, procedures. Those could live on a hub site. They're all joined to it, but each team, each plant still has their own working site where they have their own area. You know, they're not bumping elbows trying to get their work done. And the management and HR that needs to be able to get to those sites easily can do that from the hub. So it really opens the door to a lot of functionality that even our top level site in Sharepoint didn't always provide for us. So anywhere where the architecture is wide, you got a lot of sites for something, but the topic and the scope is similar, think about using a hub site to unify that. And I'll share with you a piece of information that I got from my coworker, Stephen Wilson. He said this to a client on a call once. I thought it was brilliant. If you go create a hub, or you're thinking about creating a hub site and joining some sites to it, if that hub site's going to be empty, right, there's really not any data you need to put, no documents you're going to upload, not really news that you're going to share, no events, it's just going to be there to join two sites together, you're creating a hub site for really no reason at all. Just create some quick links on those two other sites to jump from one to the other. You just created a site that's really not going to get used for anything. So food for thought. I thought that was especially brilliant. So this is how we do it at my company. Let me zoom in here so you're not having to press your nose against your laptop. All right. So this engineering group, they had a communication site. It's for information that they're going to share with everyone in the organization, right? Company, public. And then they needed a hub for their engineering team sites because they have several, but there's some membership that crosses boundaries. They have common resources, policies, procedures, work standards, research data that they share. And they don't want to have to link all over the world and back again. And you definitely don't want to duplicate data. So that's going to live on the hub site. You see there's actually a call out in this architecture diagram for Power BI and Excel driven dashboards, right? Why put that on every department site or every team site when it can live in one place and we just click a button to get to it on the home page of the hub site. So there's a lot of different ways that can flesh out. Here, HR, this particular client that I borrowed the architecture from, we were pondering different ways to make it easier for their corporate HR teams to work together. They have an HR office in every state that they operate in, but one corporate HR site group. That's going to be the hub site, and then each state team site will just join to it. So they can share resources on the hub. You know, the HR management that's over all of the states, they work there. Everybody else has their individual site. Works out really, really well for them. And permissions are maintained without having to fight with inheritance, which works out great. Okay, one thing to keep in mind, we're getting close to demo time and actually playing with all this fun stuff. We cannot join a hub site to another hub site. I've heard rumors that may be a feature that's coming. I have not researched that on the roadmap to see where they stand on that. But as of today, you can't do it. But we can fake it. Heck yeah, because it's our navigation. We can edit that to have whatever link we want on it, just like we've always been able to do. So I stole this from my demo site that we're going to jump into in just a minute. So I've got my Joy of Sharepoint link, right? That's a hub site. And actually part of its hub is what you can kind of see hidden behind my arrow, the shared services for that environment. Well, guess what? This link to projects over here, that's a hub site too. I just edited the navigation and put it here. So when you're on the home page and you should see projects because you're one of those people, so you can target your navigation now to specific audiences. Thank you, Microsoft. So I put that there, make it easy for my project people to get to where they need to go. Same for manufacturing. That's a hub too. Let's put it on my hub navigation. It's awesome. So that means, yes, I manually had to put that there. I manually have to build out my hub navigation anyway. It's not that bad, I promise. It's nothing different than most of us have always had to do anyway. And I actually, you can see here on my project hub site, I manually added a link to take me back to the Joy of Sharepoint homepage. If you hate that, you could make it a quick link, or you could go into the M365 admin portal and edit your organizational profile to have a link in that sweet bar that can take you back to your homepage. You have options. Okay, let's go do it. That's enough PowerPoint. Let's go to SharePoint. Oh, I got my stuff here. I totally cheated. I'm already in the admin center. I'm in the SharePoint admin center, and under sites, I am on active sites. So I want to show you how hard it is to make a hub site. Not hard at all. So the landing, this is a handy dandy site that I've got created. I totally stole this from the SharePoint lookbook, and you can too. SharePoint lookbook, Google it, and then find me on Twitter and tell me how awesome it is. Right? I want the landing to be a hub site. So I've selected it. You notice across the top, I have buttons on my toolbar. I have a hub button. I can register the landing as a hub site. Or I could go find a hub site that's already out there and join or associate this site to that hub site. I want you to see how long it takes to register a site as a hub site. So I am going to turn the landing into a hub site. I have the option to say only certain people can do this for the site. So I could come in here. I only have like one other fake person in my demo tenant today. Bob. Oh, Bob. I adore Bob. I'm going to save. All right. It's thinking about it. It's thinking about it. Done. That's how hard it is. And it moved me. No, it didn't. I just forgot the word these in front of it. Okay. The landing, it is now officially a hub site. That's how hard it is. The hardest thing is you have to be a SharePoint admin. After that, you're gold. Okay. So we're going to forget about the landing for a minute. I'm going to take you to a hub environment that I've already got set up called manufacturing. You see across the top, I've got my manufacturing hub. There's my cheat link to take me to the corporate homepage. If you hate that, you don't have to do it. You've got other options. And then I have sites that are associated with the hub. So if I click on Tulsa, my theme stays the same, right? The gray. My navigation comes with me. If I go to St. Louis manufacturing, my theme stays the same and my navigation comes with me, right? The big thing that changes is when I'm on a joined site in the hub, I don't see that edit button for the navigation. I can only edit the navigation from that hub site, what we used to consider the top level site. Another difference, so maybe I want St. Louis to be more colorful. So if I come down here to change the look, your site is connected to the manufacturing hub site and is set to automatically adopt the same theme, right? So that way there's consistency in this look and feel. That's cool. I like that. Okay. I'm going to click back on manufacturing hub and let's create a site and see what it looks like to join it to the hub site. So I'm going to use the create a site button right here. You either love this or you hate it. That the create site just shows up everywhere. All right, I'm going to create a team site because teamwork makes the dream work. All right, so I'm going to create a site. Notice group email address because when I create a modern team site, I'm getting a Microsoft 365 group associated with it. That gives me an email. There's my site address, right? All this good stuff. I could add additional owners, maybe good old Bob. It's dangerous to go alone. You don't ever want to be the only owner for something. Because heaven forbid you go on vacation and something needs attention. All right, so I've created my site. That was easy. You know what's interesting? Do you see what's happened here? I have my hub navigation. Because I created it from within the hub, it just worked. It just put it here. That's a relatively new feature. I think it's pretty darn groovy. If I had done that, if I'd done that from the SharePoint Admin Center, okay, kind of going through some similar things here. It's making sure that all this stuff is open. Okay, next. The little spinner is spinning. Finish. Here we go. So it doesn't associate it automatically that way, but I can come up here and associate with the hub, or I could do it from the site itself. If I do it from the admin center, right, I can see all the hubs that I have available and I could pick the one that I want it to be associated with. Let's say we forget to do that and I click on this link and I go to the SharePoint Saturday Philly site. I see it's a private group, right? There's not a whole heck of a lot going on right now. If I go to site information, there's no hub site association selected. I can fix that. Maybe it's supposed to be. I can go join this to my manufacturing hub. It can take a little while, but it didn't today. It can take a little while sometimes for themes to come over, to make themselves known and to get into, you know, the groove of being part of the hub. Notice two things that have happened though. Both for Philly, I don't see it on the navigation. For Sharepoint Saturday or M365 Saturday, it's not on the navigation. I'll be honest, personally, I find that a little annoying. I wish when I joined a site to a hub that it would just automatically put that across the navigation. I feel like that'd be one less thing to do. But I mean, if it did it automatically, I might be here complaining today that it did that. Now I have to go pull it off when I don't want it there. It's no pleasing some people. So I'm just going to copy that link, go to my hub. There's my edit button. Okay, I had to think about it for just a second. And I'm just going to drop it in here. So I'm doing a link. Paste it right in. Check this out. This is awesome. I can have up to 10 groups here. This means if I do the audience targeting, only the people that are members of any groups that I put here would see this link on the hub navigation. Awesome. I'm not going to do that, but just know it's there. And this is not only for hub navigation. This works for your site navigation too. All right. There's my M365 Philly. Let me go grab this guy real quick. And I think I'm putting this in alphabetical order. Edit. Okay, and save. So there's Philly, SPS, and M365 Philly. Everything just wires right up. I will say you'll drive yourself crazy if you do what I do and you keep a lot of tabs open, because now we're going to come here. Oh, where's my links? I thought I added my links. Why aren't they here? Go to the hub site, put them back. Oh, now they're there twice. I've done that. I've done that. Awesome. So now if I search this site and I search for an event, notice here I'm looking in manufacturing. Okay, it's focusing my search results to this environment. If I need to back up, you don't have to go anywhere else. Just go to the top of the page, back up to organization. And now you'll see content coming from all kinds of different sites. IT, the Joy of SharePoint, you know, homepage. It's probably where most of the stuff is in this in this tenant. There's HR, manufacturing. So it'll broaden it out or focus it back in. It did put my newest news article right here across the top. Right, it brought me right to that news page. This engineering link that I have here is one that I did targeting on. It's also its own hub, right? Since I can edit that navigation, I can link to anything I want to. And because the theme is so very different, when I come here, I know I've gone somewhere a little bit different, right? So use those themes to your advantage, use colors to your advantage, and use that navigation. If you start feeling like this is getting a little crazy, you can absolutely start to bring into play things like your mega menu, navigation, or even cascading. So anything that has the a similarity in their links, you could group those together in a way to keep it from sprawling out. But now I've got the advantage of a landing page for news items, for events. Shared resources can all live here on this manufacturing site, which is a communication site. And then when I jump off into my other associated sites, they're team sites. They have their own individual news. They could have their own team events, documentation that's not appropriate to be shared out with everyone that's part of manufacturing. And there's a good chance there could be teams connected to this. So my South African manufacturing department can have their private chat, their real-time communication, utilizing Teams, and use SharePoint to back up that content. All right, slides are going to be released out on Twitter. So we are walk through all this fun stuff, but I'm actually absolutely going to make these slides available if you want them for any kind of reference down the road. But we're almost to the end of the slides and we'll jump into some Q&A. Just keep in mind the takeaways here. These sites truly are modular. In fact, let's go back. Let's click it again. I just love it. Let's say that engineering's not going to be the oversight for manufacturing anymore. We're going to spin up, a brand new group that's going to do that. I just edit the navigation and pull engineering off. Or maybe SPS Philly is going to go with engineering. So I can unjoin that from this hub. Get my button, site information. Just to go put it with engineering, all I have to do is click that button. It's the easiest reorg you will ever do. Oh, there's the new theme. Ooh, I like the black and teal, right? It's just that easy. So we don't have to live in fear. You don't have to deal with massive migrations to associate sites with certain, managed paths anymore. Those days are gone. Here we are today working with Legos. You cannot architect yourself into a corner anymore because everything is its own standalone site. You don't need that hub anymore, unregister it. Done. Site needs to move, be part of a different hub. You just use that drop down. You're done, just like Legos. And you get rid of that tangled knot of broken permissions for every other list, every other library, every other subsite, right? It just works. Okay. So I want to jump over to Q&A. Before I do that, we've got a feedback slide. So the first QR code will be speaker feedback. The second one, or the one on the right, will be event feedback for all the awesome stuff that's been going on as part of virtual Philly, which is fantastic. It would have been much more fun to be there in person, but you can't beat this. Okay. So I'm going to come over here and look at Q&A. How do we get to your slides? SlideShare? Yes. Nancy, I will have them on SlideShare, and I will also be tweeting that link out from SlideShare on Twitter. So wherever you prefer to be, it will be there. At Joy of SharePoint is me on Twitter. I'll put that up here in just a minute after you have a chance to get to the QR codes. Any tips on how we can enable it so that users can view sites based on either geography or business function? Enable so that users can view sites based on geography or business function. Okay, off the cuff, because that's a really good question that I wish I could take a lot of time to think about. I would say, is it feasible for you to utilize your Microsoft 365 groups? And there are some personalization web parts that you can put on pages inside of SharePoint that will recommend sites for users based on their group membership. So that might be something to look into. Can a site be added to more than one hub? And can we have multi-level hubs? As of today, no and no, and just the messenger. But you can totally work around that just by using that navigation. If you feel like that's going to make your navigation too cluttered, or I don't know, just too many links, think about the mega menu and think about the cascading. I'm a fan of the mega menu over the cascading if you have a lot. Because if you have a lot, that cascading navigation I've seen where it's just, you almost have to scroll to keep getting to the bottom of that drop down, and we don't want to do that. The mega menu might give you an option because it opens up that nice dialog page and you can spread it out. So no, we can't add a site to more than one hub. Again, cheat with your navigation. I'll say it all day long, cheat, cheat, cheat. Is there a maximum number of sites that can be added to a hub? Let me get back to you on that. I'm sure there is, but I don't know the number off the top of my head. Is hub navigation security trimmed? It is now, not by default. You have to, and I'll just show that again, just in case anyone missed it. Let me back this up a little bit. Oh. So if you click the edit button on your navigation, enable site navigation audience targeting. You want that to be toggled over to on. And then any of the links that are here, you can add a group. Ooh. Yes, I don't have one for engineering. I thought I had done that. There we go. If you start typing in something that actually relates to a group, it'll show up. So you just pick your group and add it in here. Notice this team members, Joy of SharePoint members, wellness members, right? You've got all those groups here and you can have up to 10. Up to 10. Okay. Oh. So let me cancel out of that. Notice I got my site navigation here. If this bugs you, having one set of navigation and another, you can just edit this and delete this stuff off. And only those that have the ability to edit permissions will see the edit button. So it can create a cleaner navigation view for folks. You can do that site navigation, the targeting on your site navigation too. So that's absolutely an option. Can't do it for quick links, things that we actually put in the body of our page, but you can for the navigation structure of your site pages. Oh, let me see. Come back over here. Maximum number of sites. We just did that one. Target audience. Do secure distribution lists work in them? I haven't tested that yet, Nancy. In the olden days, it totally did. As long as that distribution list had been security enabled. I will say that the trend seems to be converting your distribution lists into Office 3, or I should say Microsoft 365 groups. And then hands down, it'll work, and then you'll get all the assets that probably should be part of that group of folks, tool belt anyway. How do you do cascading navigation for a hub? Okie dokie. So I'm on my manufacturing site. I'm going to click on my site actions gear. And I am going to change the look. And on this navigation option, I have the option. So right now it's set to cascading, or I could change it to mega menu. So let me just go edit one of these guys. And it's thinking about it, something I did absolutely nothing to. Okay. So I'll put this back in edit mode. Edit. So La Jolla, if I had made that a label instead of a link, I don't know if they'll let me change that. And it killed my link. Yay. And I'm actually doing that wrong. Let me do Philly. Make sublink. There we go. I need more coffee. Make sublink. If I make these links sublinks and save, La Jolla should then get my drop down. Yay, I did it. Okay. What did you use app to diagram the architecture for sites, teams, or groups? I should start including that, Joe. I get asked that a lot. It's a tool called XMind. There is a free version of it, but you get some watermarked stuff for it. So I actually did shell out the money and pay for it. But it's a neat little app, XMind. I enjoy it. I do a lot with it. And there's all kinds of different things that you can do too. It's a great tool. Can you show mega menu and what level do you have to be to do it? So I'll show you mega menu on my Joy of SharePoint. Don't judge me, this page gets torn apart a lot. It's a lie, I have it as cascading. Let's fix that. Change the look, navigation, mega menu, save. I like mega menu, especially on your home pages. I know I'm about out of time, but we want to reduce click distance for people, right? So if we've got navigation set up for folks, and you know the main reason they're going to the IT homepage is to submit a ticket, why make them go do that? Give them that nice little label saying, hey, here's the most common stuff that people go to IT for, and just put them right there under the link. So this is the mega menu. I've got it right here on my hub navigation. So training, right? Go right to the Joy of SharePoint webinar page, right? Just take people where they want to go. Forms, you can have a section for forms and services. I love the mega menu, right? What do people want out of HR? Where's my paycheck? How's my 401k look, right? Give them those buttons. It gives them an easy button to get to it without having to clutter up the homepage. Okay. Is security training used for SharePoint groups or O365 groups or AD groups? When I was testing around with it the other day, I was able to use my Office 365 groups and SharePoint groups. I come back. And look at this now. We'll edit this guy. And even individuals. Joy of SharePoint members, right? That's going to be a SharePoint group. And I can put an individual in there as well. So you have some options. Let's see. I think that got us through all of the questions. Oh, can we arrange the hub nav hierarchy? Technically, there's not a hierarchy with that. It's just the order in which you want them to be. Cancel this. But yes, so if I wanted human resources and its associated links to be higher up or moved around, I can absolutely drag and drop them here so they can be in the order I want them to be. Sometimes you have to hold your mouth just right, and you notice I'm just made. There we go. I can actually do some dragging and dropping. And that's about the extent of hierarchy as far as it comes. It's just the order of the links. The logical architecture is still set up such that every one of these is its own standalone site collection. It's not above or below any other site. The big difference there is, and maybe this is what you're referring to and it just now filtered into my brain. Maybe I don't want manufacturing to be the hub anymore. I want it to be a different site. You would go unregister manufacturing as the hub, and then you would need to go associate those other sites with a new hub site. It would take you a little bit of time, but we're talking probably less than an hour, not days as it would have in our old nested subsite days. All right, I hope that's helpful. I'm going to give a last call for questions, and I'm going to put the feedback slide back up. Would love to get your feedback. I want to make this presentation as good as it can possibly be, and I can't do that without feedback. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for supporting this community event. It's a little hard for those of us that are extroverts to not be face-to-face with you. We greatly appreciate the interaction, the questions, and supporting these virtual events in the community. All right, thank you.